Hello guys, as I did with the Rule 1 video, I'm going to be doing the analysis recorded as opposed to live. It was a lot quicker, a lot more efficient, and it allowed us to explore the topics without being interrupted by a live stream. Didn't really fancy stream today, so I thought I'd do it this way. So we're going to get straight into it, and this is going to be BDS. So we're going to look at BDS since addition of Rise. Rise is an amazing player, always looking to be a world champion, doesn't want to stop until he's a world champion. And joining BDS was a logical move to try and join the strongest possible team in the region after Oxygen. So this is where they are this split since adding Rise. Third, second in in Europe is not bad at all, especially with Vitality taking first in all of them. So this has put them as second seed, I believe, in Europe, because Karmine Corp fell a bit short in one of them. Actually, let me confirm that, because it'd be very easy for me to say that, and then yeah, they are second seed. But yeah, the quality of this team since adding Rise has been a lot more consistent, a lot higher quality, and I don't think it's anything against Extra. I think sometimes change is what's needed, and I think Rise is probably a stronger player than Extra on an individual level. But what it will probably have done is given Monkey and Seiko a new revitalized look at the game, a new bit of energy. That's one of the main benefits of switching players out, can be that. So you can see third, second, and we'll look into each of those events. And this was the full open. So BDS knocked down early by Karmine Corp, where they had to go through the gauntlet, beat Oxygen, beat PSG, makes sense, beat Moist, makes sense, beat Karmine Corp on the Revenge, and then lost to Liquid. Now, I think Liquid are one of those teams which, honestly, are the next strongest team after Vitality in the region, but they're a little bit less consistent. They've always been a little inconsistent compared to a lot of teams, but they are getting more consistent as they refine their play style. Spoken a little bit about it in some of the other analysis videos. But BDS and Liquid, I think, are pretty close when it comes to being second/third in the region. Same thing with Karmine Corp, to be fair, but they're just having a little bit of a post-major winning blip where they need to get smacked down before they go into Worlds, to be honest. I think if they underperform at the major, that could be the best thing that happens to them for Worlds. But BDS losing out to Liquid on this occasion. And then in the next, we had a similar set of top teams, I believe. Where did BDS lose in this one? So they lost to Vitality this time. So due to the seeding, they had to play Vitality second round. And they got knocked down and had to go through the gauntlet again. So they're getting reps in at least. This time they beat Liquid in the lower side. And then beat Guild, beat Moist, and lost to Karmine Corp this time. Where Karmine Corp were looking pretty solid this event. Only team that could take down Vitality. And then in the last one here, this was Spring Invitational. And then we can see BDS. Again, they're pretty consistent at knocking the lower end teams out. Beating Karmine Corp this time, so that means they're 2-2 across all of the regionals. Because they didn't have to play them in the lower side this time. They came up against Vitality in the upper bracket final. And then they were the destroyers of the Hogan mode story, beating them in the lower bracket final, and then played Vitality in the final again. So they finally had an upper bracket run in the final regional, and they made the final there. So we'll have a little watch of some gameplay from the third regional in a bit, but I do want to have a little look at the stats as we always do, and try and paint a picture of the team here. So thankfully they have a unique number of games, which, as you guys all know, allows us to really analyze the stats a lot better. So this is from the Spring Invitational, right? Regional 3. Yep. And you can see 53.3% win rate. I guess that's mostly because of Vitality, because they played Vitality twice, losing 4-1. But Monkey Moon, highest point scorer, Rise, lowest point scorer, Rise being a little bit more disruptive off the ball. So not gaining those points through that. All similar on the shots. Anything standing out otherwise? More assists from Seiko. That makes sense. Seiko's a bit more mechy and does sort of creative stuff. A lot of saves from Monkey. Rise not involved in the defense much at all. in that sense. But yeah, it's all pretty balanced here. Again, we just did a Rule 1 analysis, and I said there's a lot of similarities between the teams. Rise being more of a goal scorer here, but they're all pretty balanced in the stats front. Let's have a look at the boost. So Rise is very boost hungry, very 100 hungry, and is just going to be chasing bumps and stuff, which is why he's use more boost at Supersonic. Actually doesn't. Wait, where is he? Doesn't get a huge amount of demos, you know, but he does do a lot of disruption just in general, like forcing, faking, that kind of thing. So we can see Seiko and Monkey both on the lower end boost use, keeping their boost around that 50 point. Less reliant on the hundreds, more pad focused. Monkey's always been pretty good at doing that, sticking in the middle of the pitch a bit more, moving a bit slower, which we'll see in the movement in a sec. But yeah, Monkey Moon tends to be a little bit roamy through the middle of the pitch, so doesn't tend to get those hundreds as often. Positioning wise, let's get them in position. Monkey Moon is the one who sits in defense the most back, 137. This is very interesting. So we've mentioned about percentage behind the ball being a key stat for teams that are doing well. I accidentally pressed the space bar there. A key stat for those that are doing well. But you see Rise, that's going to be one of the lowest behind the ball, so highest in front of the ball. Seiko's also in front of the ball a lot. So Monkey Moon doing a lot of the heavy lifting at the back alone, which is interesting. They spend quite a lot of time close to the ball, so maybe even though they're in front, they are quite close. It's looking to disrupt from upfield maybe a little bit more. But yeah, you'll see here, Rise is one of the highest. And Seiko's up there too. It's not crazy, but it's definitely something to note when we're analysing the gameplay. And then movement-wise, Rise, a bit faster. Seiko, pretty average. Monkey Moon, a bit slower. Reasonably grounded as a team. Yeah, I mean, it's all pretty balanced, pretty even. The only standout stat for me is the percentage behind the ball being a little bit off. For where BDS used to be a little bit more of a rotational team, get back behind the ball. They seem to be a little bit more comfortable with the upfield positioning, especially Seiko. Like I noticed a lot in the gameplay, he often is found upfield by Monkey Moon slamming it long. But yeah, let's just get into some gameplay now and have a little watch. So I've got the Karmine Corp BDS series here, and this was the one which BDS won in game 7. So we'll have a classic 3-2 game. Let's have a little watch of that. The first thing I've noticed is Rise's flips are a bit weird. Not the most efficient of flips. Anyway, doesn't matter, not that deep. Okay. Oh wow. Did that pinch? No, just clipped it off the final touch from Vatira. That is unfortunate goal. This is what Rise does quite well actually as a player, is he's willing to let other people get baited into doing something that he can then punish. He's got a very smart vision for the game and can often see stuff that people are doing better than they can. Monkey just going in. So yeah, he's very good at that kind of thing. Now this is something that's interesting about Monkey. He's one of the best double jump shooters in the game, but it's also one of his bad habits, right? Like you can see how well he slots that in this situation. Like very quick up to it, slots it top corner, very nicely done. Sometimes it would be better for Monkey to single jump and dodge into the ball, and I've been critical of him in the past for doing that quite a lot, because he tends to always double jump for shots. It does mean at times can be savable, or they miss, or they don't hit a hard enough shot, that kind of thing. But in situations like that, that's where you can see it's beneficial that Monkey is so good at double jumping. Like he's one of the best double jumpers in the game, in my opinion. I say that as he does that. But it's because he double jumps everything, which typically I would say is a bad thing, right? Like, I discourage a lot of people from double jumping at things. It's one of the things I notice in people underperforming is they double jump at everything. And Monkey's definitely a bit of a double jumper, which when you double jump, it takes away a lot of options. Because if you've still got your dodge, you can do a lot of things. Yeah, you see that sort of monkey roam in the midfield. Just looking to be in their face a little bit. Side shot, great save. But yeah, Monkey is very willing to roam through the midfield, and with their current playstyle seems to trend back a lot, which is interesting. But yeah, that sort of double jump in the midfield thing, it reminds me a little bit of Fairy Peak back in Vitality's prime. He used to be a little bit of a low momentum midfield roamer, but a bit more to the extreme. Good save, Seiko. Yeah, you can see that they're good at making the decision of when to go, when not to go. And if they do go, it's quite safe. Yeah, Seiko is the creative mechanical player in this team. You see moments like that from him a lot. Sort of reminiscent of back when first came to the scene and Endpoint was the one doing everything with the mechs. I think Rise really facilitates that well. And Monkey is very comfortable playing from the back, it seems now, which is interesting. Where we sort of saw Extra when Extra was on the team be the defensive player in quotation marks, where now Monkey is much more willing to be that defensive player. But yeah, the big advantage this team has, I would say, over a lot of other teams is Monkey, Rise, and Seiko are some of the best simple mechanical players in the game. Like, they do the basics very well, the fundamentals very well. And they are good at knowing when to miss, when to not miss, that kind of thing. Ooh, that was almost nuts. And they're very boost efficient. Like, they don't use a lot of boost for stuff. They do a lot of low boost touches. So they're good at just coming back into the play on low boost and being able to deal with it. And padding up. So the greatest strength of BDS is probably that side of them, that they're good with low boost. They're good at low boost touches. They're good at staying in the play and not having to go get hundreds if they're in a low boost situation. And know when to give up on a play, right? Like, they have fast recovery out of plays which aren't going to work. But one of their downsides with that is they're good at the fundamentals, but sometimes they select fundamental options too often when they'd be better off choosing something a little bit higher risk. That's a very good shot there. So if we go back to this Monkey Moon touch here, you know, keeping that boost nice and high, very good stuff there. Plays off the 50-50, playing into that neutral. You can see touches like that, like, it's a very good simple touch, right? Very good ceiling double tap off the backboard, that kind of thing. But lacking that, you know, high level mechanical stuff like the flip reset things that we see from Liquid, from Vitality, that kind of thing. So they lack the frequency of those. And what we see with the other teams in Europe that are a little bit more risky mechanics that they use is that they're willing to mess those mechanics up a little bit more, whereas it feels like BDS take the safer options, the simpler options, mess them up less, but then don't gain as much by messing them up less, you know? Ooh. It's a close old game. This is definitely a game 7 in a close series, right? I can see the nervier touches and the nervier moments. Wait, this wasn't game 7, was it? Wait, was it game 7? No, it wasn't game 7. I'm chatting out my ass. You can certainly see the nervier touches. But then that's sort of... BDS have always been quite frustrating to play against. Even back in the day when it was Mark, Monkey, and Extra. I think a lot of it comes down to Monkey because he is reading the play constantly and he's constantly intercepting stuff. So you always feel like there's a presence there. You always feel like someone's going to come in and get the ball. And Monkey is so consistent as well that there's always that threat of him being there and just going for the ball. Beating you to it. And also when he doesn't go as well, that's quite threatening. So let's actually watch the final game. I thought we were watching this game there. But yeah, let's watch this final game and see if things have changed in the end of the series here. But yeah, it did look a little bit nervy at times from Karmine Corp. I think Karmine Corp have looked a bit like that this split. I think they've put a lot of pressure on themselves, a lot of expectation now that they're the major champions, and I don't think they like being the second best team in the region. I probably wouldn't even call them second best team in the region now. I'd say Liquid and BDS have a potential to say that. I think having been knocked down after the major has definitely affected their play, and they seem to mess up a little bit more. And be a little bit more hesitant and things like that, and they're not as creative on the ball, it seems. Cheeky little play. Risky though. I don't like this play. It's cheeky, but it's risky. Passing to the third player. Exotic read it very well, to be fair. But yeah, that's where that percentage behind the ball stuff that we spoke about is coming through. Moments like that. I know this isn't like Vatira bumped him there, but yeah, playing in front of the ball can be risky, and bringing a third player in can be risky, but you know, it is what it is. Yeah, Monkey Moon could have gone high there and scored, right? Like, he went low instead, so yeah, bit of a risky play, but I can see why Rise went for it, but I can also see why Monkey would be like, why are you passing to me? I'm your third man, you know? It would be frustrating either way. It's a lovely little touch. Yeah, they're playing very far up. You can see Rise is just comfortable not going as well, which is key. I was referring to this play here where he just didn't go there. But then, yeah, he did just go for this. That definitely felt like a Seiko double tap to me. This is one thing that Rise always does, though, in Game 7s, is he's got no fear of going. Like, he'd rather get the touch than not get the touch, you know? And like has that Game 7 creativity. Maybe we'll see some of that here. I can't actually remember this game that well. Well, that's a really good catch there from Seiko. Jeez. Almost got the under scoop into carry. They're always very satisfying when they work. But yeah, you just see them do a lot of these fundamental touches, right? Like this here from Seiko. Very simple double jump aerial at the ball. Monkey Moons has done a simple double jump aerial at the ball. And they're not trying to overcomplicate things. And then consequently, the recovery speed can be a little bit quicker out of things, and you know they can read the play a little bit more. So yeah, they have simplified their game plan quite a lot. Drop that left, yep. Interesting. These reads, right? Like they have such, like Seiko and Monkey. Like Rise has a good read of the game. And uses it for his creativity. Oh, that is beautiful. and knows when not to go and knows when to go for 50s and things like that instead. That's Ryze's asset as a reading of the game kind of thing. But the way Seiko and Monkey are able to read the ball in some situations, like that last touch there from Seiko here, like reading it off of Vatira's touch, off the back wall, with that little boost as well. Unbelievable. But yeah, this is synergy right here. Monkey and Seiko, great synergy. I love the fact that Monkey just put it at him and then followed it up. You see, Monkey didn't know where they were in the net, so just put it in a place where he could follow it up himself, or at least set it up for Seiko. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe he wanted to absolutely clang it. Perhaps it was the fact that Seiko didn't put it in a clangable spot for him. Let's see. No, that was clangable, but the problem you got with the clanger there is that's what the keeper's expecting. So you can see Vatira is expecting the clanger. And then when there's no speed on the ball, can't do much with it, right? Like, he was going top corner to kind of cover that. It was very clever from Monkey just to take the slower shot and catch him off guard. But it's weird, because BDS's playstyle, I would say, is the easiest to replicate on a surface level, but the hardest to replicate on the intricate nuance of it. So little touches like that, right? Like, that's the bit that's hard to replicate. Like, the just general touches they're going for, like, these are all touches that we're all capable of doing most of the time, except for, like, the crazy reads that the guys have. But, like, fakes, forces, 50s, double jump aerials at the ball, etc., etc. They're all quite simple touches, and, like, we've all had a double tap in our time. We've all had a crazy read in our time. They don't tend to choose the options that are those newer age mechanics. Occasionally they go for a simple flip reset and do it well, but like, it seems like the kind of options they go for are all options that they have nailed, you know, that they can trust themselves to do 100% of the time. See, like this, right? Like, Seiko's touch here. It's such a simple touch, but it's so effective, right? Like, I say simple. Like, I'm sure a lot of people will watch that and be like, that's not that simple. But, like, these kinds of touches are the ones that I could see myself doing in a game. And I don't see myself as a mechie player. But then when I watch Team Liquid or Vitality or Fury or whatever, they do things where I'm like, I can't comprehend how you'd even think to do that stuff. So like, BDS are just executing a lot of like fundamental mechanics well. I'm recording this quite late, so my brain is a little bit fried, and I did just record the Rule 1 video, so I think it's like 11:30 right now. So my words aren't coming out as good, but hopefully you get the general gist of what I'm trying to say. A rare fundamentals miss. Now this is the biggest downside of this playstyle, and we saw the same thing happen with BDS last season when they struggled at London. And like, when you're feeling off and your reads aren't coming through, it's really hard to trust the touches, right? Like in this situation, Monkey Moon has full trust that Seiko's hitting this, as he should, because Seiko hits those most of the time. And then when it doesn't get hit, Monkey's ready to jump at it, but by that point it's too late because he's going to get bumped. And it's like that. I guess he didn't think Seiko was going to hit it because it was a hard read, but then, like, he didn't jump at it assuming Seiko was going to get it, right? Why did Ryze get beaten here? What happened here? Oh, Ryze just not quite in position ready for that one. Exotic in a really nice position for that. Like, right underneath it. Yeah, and this is rare from K-Corp, the way they do this here. I think that there's an element of they're 2 goals down with a minute left, which has come through here. Like, you wouldn't often see a Tachi follow through like this, I don't think. Definitely feel like there's an element of we have to score. So maybe that caught BDS off guard a little bit there. But yeah, it's just like one misread, Rise being beaten to a ball by a good speedy touch from Exotic. Nice 50. Okay. They recovered it somehow, but yeah, like the quite frequently all 3 are in front of the ball. Not all 3 in front of the ball, but like 2 in front of the ball and 1 playing the ball as third. So you can see that percentage behind the ball could affect them at some point. But that's where their 50s are so important, so good. That's really nice 50. Like, this is just classic Rise, right? Just being an absolute unit and 50ing everything. For those of you who watched the Rule 1 video, you can see where that neutral game stuff that we spoke about that they were quite reliant on. You can see how that comes through here when it's done well. Okay. Yeah, you can see again, Karmine Corp just going for quite all-in plays, which they don't normally go for, and it's working. Yeah, BDS will get punished by teams that are feeling mechy on the day and able to break them down. But for most teams, BDS will beat them, which is why they've been pretty consistent at working their way through the majority of teams in Europe. And that's the winner there. So we'll have a little watch of them against Vitality and see where it doesn't quite work against a team that's a little bit stronger. So let's have a watch of... Let's just watch game 1. And we'll see where they do get a bit more punished by stronger mechanical teams who are good in the neutral game as well. But teams who keep control of the ball and bait them in a bit more. Yeah, you can see the aggression for Vitality and recovery speed for Vitality. Like, you just see Alpha there being so in the face. And, like, individually, they're obviously all amazing as well. Like, the fact that Zen was able to defend that there. I know this isn't a Vitality analysis, but... You know, the fact that Zen was able to defend this here from Monkey Moon. This is where that simplicity of the touches they're going for. Let them down a little bit. And they need to try and integrate some more high-level mechanics. But very good from Rise here, just to disrupt them. This is what they are good at as a team. 1vx, 1v2, 1v3, 1v1. Good at just diffusing that pressure with 50s and things like that. You can see, like, bumps. Boost still. Rise has been an absolute nuisance, trying to create space. That failed bump there could lead to a goal. Yeah, Seiko alone here. High level touch didn't quite work out. Went for something a little bit more challenging. This is the Alpha aggression coming through as well. Like, Alpha, very aggressive player. Moving so fast. Coming through. But yeah, this is where the one at the back stuff for BDS could let them down, right? Like, they got 2 in front of the ball. And then this is where you get punished against a stronger team. And this is where, like, that Rise bump idea here. You know, if the bump works, great, they score. Doesn't work, you're going to concede, so... Gotta be careful with some of those decisions. Let's watch a bit of Monkey Moon here. This is what I said about the Monkey Moon shooting. This is something Monkey Moon needs to work on. Because he also gets quite close to the play, which is part of the reason why it happens. But this is where people like Radosin, good shot stoppers, will be able to read a double jump shot. Whereas in this situation, I think if Monkey was a little less charging into the play and a little bit more selective with his placement, he could have put that in a place where Radosin couldn't save it. But it's like early shot benefit versus with the accuracy but slightly weaker versus unpredictable shot. It's just stuff like this. This is what I was talking about, the higher level mechanics things. Like just lots of little touches that throw off your opponents. Blimey. Alpha is just chaos, isn't he? Just re-signed to Vitality for another few years. Very exciting. Might be the longest standing member of Vitality after Fairy Peak. Because Fairy Peak was there from the start back in 2018 till what, like 2021 was it? I don't know when he left. And then K-Dop was a similar kind of length, but just shifted forward a bit. Nice. You just see Alpha is just up, right? Like, so it's just the chaotic Alpha factor that's really throwing off BDS, and they can't read that. Like, they're so reliant on reading the play and like having a read on their opponents that when they're against Vitality, they're really struggling to get a read on the Alpha chaos. I like that. Nice simple passing play. Nice bump. Some good ideas here, but you just see it's not quite enough to break down Vitality. And it's forcing them to try things that are a little bit more mechanical. I noticed a little bit more from Rise and Seiko. They're trying to go for these high mechanical things. Nice idea by Rise to go for the bump. Just didn't quite work out on this occasion because there was no one behind him. Right? There was a lot of demos all at once. Did Monkey get demoed as well? Yeah. Yeah, that's just a double demo. Rise needs to go for the 50 there in hindsight, but he didn't know that Monkey was going to get demoed too. So that's really good. Was that Alpha? Yeah. Like, Alpha is actually just a rat on this team. He's just constantly bumping, constantly beating people to the ball, chucking himself around. It's very hard for BDS to read. Little kickoff goal here. Yeah, you can see the fundamentals. Really nice here from Seiko. Playing for the 50. Rise, very simple play, but very executed very well. Love that. Yeah, it's just watching in general, it just feels like Vitality at any moment could do something that's very scary against BDS. And like BDS are one touch or one getting beaten away from conceding. So that's something that is a little bit concerning for them. Because they find themselves in low boost, low momentum positions a lot. Like that was an example of it there. Low boost, low momentum position. They know how to play it well. But like... the thing about Vitality is they're just constantly rotating in and out. And so they're just hard to keep a track of. Because they're just constantly there. So they need a bit more breaking down, but it's hard to break them down when you haven't got the mechanical outplays that break teams down. Like, you need to be able to take two players out of the game with one touch against Vitality. Otherwise, they're just always going to be beating you in situations. Like, that just breaks the read of the play that BDS have, right? Like, you see Seiko here. Like, Seiko doesn't have a read of the play that Alpha can pre-jump and get it. So yeah, the speed of Alpha really disrupts the BDS read of the play. Like, BDS have a very good read of the play. They have a very good read of the pace of the play and the, you know, the neutral game, who's in control, who's not in control. And then suddenly you've got Alpha in your face in a way that's unexpected, and it throws them off completely. See again, that same stuff we spoke about, Monkey Moon's double jump shooting is a strength of his, but can be a weakness. Redosin is able to wait and watch and wait. And I think any player who sees Monkey Moon shooting should just watch and wait. You'll probably be able to read it. Just because the double jump shots just haven't quite got that zing that you need. And I think if you're going to look at any player who's good at double jump shooting... Oh my, this was unreal, wasn't it? Holy, this was unreal. I forgot how unreal this was. I remember watching this. How Monkey kept that up is unbelievable. And then to go for the bump. That is honestly might be one of the best goals of the tournament. I know there's a lot of good individual goals, but the fact that Monkey kept it up there. You know, they are clutch. Rise is clutch. BDS have always been pretty clutch, so it does make sense. Good save. But yeah, their ability to play on low boost is a strength, but it punishes them a little bit when they're in games like this, where they're against a team that's zoomier, 100 boostier, more mechanical. I was gonna say mechanicia. That's not a word. See, look, they're very good with the fundamental double jump mechanics, beating people to the ball, challenge game. But they just need to level up one bit in their mechanical outplay ability. A little bit of their decision making in rotations. A little bit in taking the riskier options. Like you see again, like the double jump aerial in front of net thing is a problem again, right? Like if Seiko just stays grounded here. I know it's easy to say in hindsight, but this is a very safe, this is the sort of like safe mechanics we're talking about, right? Where if you double jump from here, you're guaranteed to hit it, right? If you double jump from here, you're guaranteed to hit it. Because most players at this level, in fact, most players at like GC level are pretty consistent at hitting the ball here. But if you're comfortable staying on the ground up until about this point here, and then single jump dodging through the ball, you're going to have a lot more threat. And you can also, if you wanted to, in theory, most of the time you probably wouldn't, if you wanted to, you could in theory drive away at any point along this yellow line here. But the whole point being that in order to get a double jump aerial, you normally have to have some kind of read of the play. You normally have to stay grounded a little bit longer. But you could see here, if Seiko just stayed grounded, single jump to that one. Maybe they didn't have the boost for it, so maybe it's a boost problem as well, that they are a little bit lower on boost sometimes. But yeah, I want to see them integrate those single jump shots in a bit more. I think it would honestly convert some of these goal scoring opportunities for them a bit more. That's an interesting rotation path there from Seiko. Just willing to go across via that pad path. I like that. Basically back in the play with 100 boost. Doesn't boost our teammates at all. It's also, I say about the single jump aerial thing, it's very easy to say that in hindsight. You know, like in all the situations where they've not scored from a double jump, it's very easy to say in hindsight, oh, if you single jumped and dodged at that, you'd have scored it. But it is something I've seen historically for BDS, and it's also something that is indicative of a team that's nervous, which I don't think is the case for BDS. I think it's a habitual thing. But sometimes you see in players when they start getting nervous, they start to single jump aerial less. Especially in high pressure situations like goal scoring situations. Like that's fine to double jump at, right? Because you've got to get there quick. But yeah, using your dodge in those situations can be the difference between you scoring and not. And what you really want to be doing as a team, now this is something BDS can't really do. Part of the reason why they might double jump a lot is because they're in positions where they can't get away with not going. But realistically, you want to be in a situation where if you single jump aerial and your opponents are faster than you and double jump at it to clear it, that it's not going to lead to you conceding. That's the dream scenario you want to be in, where you can single jump aerial at a shot, but it's not going to lead you to conceding. So you remember that pass that Rise did earlier? If you've watched the whole video, that time where Rise passed it to the third man. In that situation, you have to double jump aerial at it because you can't possibly... The same thing here, right? Rise has to be careful because he's the last player. So he does actually go for it there, but you can see he panics a little bit because it's really hard to single jump shoot when you are, in theory, the last defender as well as the shooter. So sometimes I think they need to create safer positions for the shooter to be able to single jump aerial, and then that way they will probably more confidently be able to do it. But just look at how powerful a single jump dodge shot can be. I know it's an infield pass as well. Through a smoke screen as well. Who's defending here? Seiko. Yeah, the smoke screen didn't affect him too badly, but yeah. You want to create situations where you can create that power on the ball. But that was a fair bit of analysis. I don't want to overanalyze. I think when we do it off stream, overdoing the analysis of various replays might not be as beneficial. Because we'll start to see a lot of the same stuff. But ultimately, what I'm seeing from these guys is a slight overcommitment problem, which is leading to them having to dissolve pressure as one back. A lack of risk-taking mechanic options being not only taken but viable, and that kind of comes from them overcommitting positionally by going forward too much. In particular, Rise being in front of the ball quite a lot with that stuff, and Seiko being in front of the ball too. And then the boost amounts, the fact that they go on lower boosts means that the recovery speed's a bit longer, and that's where we're seeing that high stat that we saw with the positioning here. That's why we see the BDS in front of the ball stuff here. That's because they're going for plays with lower boost, so they land and it takes longer to recover. Rise is often roaming upfield trying to go for bumps and stuff, but yeah, because they stick closer to the play on lower boost, which you can see from their boost stats, they're going for less of these and getting more of these, so they're in those positions where they overcommit a little bit more, but ultimately their fundamentals are all so good that they are able to execute simple touches well, better than any other team. They're great with the 50 game and the force and neutral game. A little bit double jumpy at times, but that's just because they're taking the safest options. And I think if they come up against teams playing really good, like I think a Complexity playing well, a Furia playing well, Vitality playing well, Liquid playing well, these kinds of teams playing well, who've got those modern higher level mechanics, they might struggle a little bit against those teams to execute and fully beat them. So, yeah, BDS have a lot of potential. Just been invited by Cole to play some Rocket League, so I might do that in a bit. But I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know again if you enjoyed it off stream instead of live streamed. And I'll get to making some more videos once I'm back from Poland.